Dry Bones Burnout is one of the most complex courses in the game. With so many optional routes available to the racers, it really feels like an open course race. So in this video, I will be going over every single alternate route available to you. But in order for us to measure how fast or slow a route is, we need to have a baseline to compare it to. Which is what I've done first. I ran the course taking the most basic route that anybody can easily take. This route is taking turns as sharp as they can, but it's not taking shortcuts. This will give us the best comparison of how fast or slow each alternate route is compared to the average racer. So without further ado, let's go over the roads less traveled of Dry Bones Burnout. We'll start off with the first section, and here we have some very basic options. First, we have a few mushroom cuts through the lava, but none of them save much time, and they aren't really worth the mushroom. The cooler option we have is to do a charge jump onto this wall, and then jump back onto the track. I tried multiple times with varying success, and I learned the best way to do this is to charge jump as late as possible, and when we're on the wall, charge up to the Super Mini Turbo, the golden boost. Then, after your trick off the wall, do a left aerial trick to align yourself back onto the road. The last alternate route of this beginning section is to take the upper path on the right. It's fairly similar to the regular path, but it is a bit slower, so depending on the racers in front of you and the items that they have, take whichever path you feel most comfortable with. This transitions us into the next segment, this cool, tricky, enclosed cavern. The baseline follows the right side and just goes straight along the path. But there are many other options available to you if you need to get away from other players, or if you just want to be cool. First, we have this railing. Simply take the railing and trick every now and then. You miss out on the coins, and you are at risk of an easy green shell hitting you, but it might be a safer option, and it allows you to jump to the other side if you need. Next, for another fun route, we can use the wall jumps to jump around like a crazy person. But similar to the railing example, it's not faster, it's just more fun. Now there are two more routes through this tunnel, first of which is the middle section slightly below. You get more air time taking this route, which will slow you down, but it is kind of peaceful. Lastly, and leastly, there is the lowest section, which you should avoid as much as possible. You should only be down here if you are knocked down by an item or bumped off by another player. As we soar into the dual skeleton spine section, my baseline path flies from above and drops down into the lower section where it just takes the most basic turns. This is the easiest path for any player to replicate, but it definitely isn't the fastest. There are many alternate paths to take and many different ways to take each alternate path, so let's divide and conquer. First, let's start off by going through the left side. Because this path is laid on the inside of the overall track, it is, in most cases, slightly faster than both the right side and the lower section. But there are many ways to take this path. At the beginning of the spine section, you can hop onto the railing for a safe pathway. This is slightly safer than the regular pathway because you won't mess up any drifts or fall down below, but you do miss an item set, and it is much slower than simply driving the course. Now there are a few other things on the left side, but we'll pick up on those later. For now, let's compare it to the right side. Opposite from the left side, this route is much slower than the bottom and left paths because it's on the outside. It ends up being 0.7 seconds slower than the lower route. Similar to the left path, you can also ride the railings on the right path. And if you do take this, when we fall onto the track, we can actually see we are... Wait, where is the bit? Oh, it's way up there. Yeah, never take this route. It's 3.2 seconds slower than just driving down the pathway below, and that's ridiculously slow. Now, what about the bottom section routes? Well, if you are on the bottom and want to go to the top, there are railings on the left and right that will bring you up to the respective top paths. Taking these railings up to the top are a bit slower than just staying on the bottom, so if you end up down here, don't go back up unless you have a good reason to. For example, at the end of these skeleton spines there are some cool tricks you can do. So now, let's go over to those cool tricks and the ending pathways as we exit this area. Starting off with the left-hand side, you can jump onto this wall and then carefully land on this platform below. Landing on the rail will easily align yourself for the final turn. Now before that ending turn, you can jump off of this path early and attempt to skip over this off-road section. Using a mushroom would be best, and there is an extremely expert way of doing this that I will show at the end during the expert section. Moving over to the right-hand side, there is a cool pathway we can reach if we get to the railing above, and there are 3 ways to get to the railing. First, we can take the entire railing from the start, but that's fairly slow. So here are two faster but slightly harder ways of reaching the railing. Before taking this final turn, you can charge jump onto the wall and ride it up to the railing. The last method is very difficult. When you are coming up from below on the right rail, you can attempt to jump onto the railing above, but it's nearly impossible to do without a mushroom and a very well-timed neutral jump. So I would not recommend trying this without practice. Regardless of how you get up to this railing, at the end, you can trick onto this extended wall ride, and then left trick over to this side platform. At the end of the platform, there is a glider ramp that lets you fly up above the finish line and gives you a safe pathway above the entire first section of the map. Getting up here forces you to take a slightly slow route, but the safety might be worth it. And additionally, there are item boxes up here in Versus mode. Now that we are done with that section, let's look at the final stretch of the map, this open lava area. The first shortcut requires us to jump into this lava pit and then use a mushroom boost through the lava. This saves us about 0.4 seconds, but there is a better place to use your mushroom, and that's the other lava pool. I personally use this charge jump to jump above as much lava as I could, but that is not necessary. My method saved almost 1 full second, but I'm sure if you do it a different way, you might get better results. There is one more alternate route in this section. Remember that pathway above the finish line? Well, there is one more final way to get to it. If you stay to the far right as you turn, you can trick jump off of this ramp onto the wall, and then a glider ring will appear for you to glide up above the finish line. This is a wider and slower turn, but if you have no mushrooms and want to get onto the upper pathway, this is an easy option for you to take. Now, that was the full course and all of the main alternate routes, but some advanced players will know that there's better ways to do all of these shortcuts. And in this final section of the video, I want to go over some difficult pathways to really improve your racing that the world records tend to use. Starting with the last section we just went through, there are two alternate routes we can combine to save a ton of time. Travel along the top left route during the skeleton spine section, and then jump onto the wall like before, but instead of tricking off the wall, just disconnect off of the end. Perform an air trick to align yourself onto the platform, but not the railing. Then, fall off the platform to avoid extra airtime, and use a mushroom through the lava at the end. This is the main route you will see advanced players use because it's consistent to pull off as long as you have a mushroom. The next section involves the rails at the beginning of the left section. Instead of just jumping onto the railing, a slightly faster version is to wall ride after the jump, do not trick off of the wall, perform an aerial trick to align yourself and land on the rail. Then you should dismount it at this turn so you save time. This is the fastest way to take this section, but it is fairly difficult and very easy to mess up and fall into off-road at the bottom route. The final expert level route is ridiculously hard. I tried to get it for about 30 minutes straight, and I got a very bad version. So instead of showing you my poor attempts, I'll show you the current world record holder at time of recording. And here's the route. After the railing section we just discussed, perform a couple precise drifts along the inside of the path, and then perform a very meticulous charge jump. As you go over the ramp, release the jump and cling onto the wall. Immediately, you fall off the wall, land, and trick off of this bump/incline on the outside of the road. And then you ride onto this wall and jump above the lava. This aligns you to use a mushroom through the final lava pool. This route is insanely hard to take, but that's the route, and it's the fastest way to do this section. But that's been all of the alternate routes on Dry Bones Burnout. With two extremely varied sections that allow you to take a diverse amount of personal routes to express your enjoyment of the game, this course is easily one of the most diverse and most fun of Mario Kart World, which is why it's a fan favorite. Now, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you did. Fully exploring and learning the courses has been a blast so far. If you have any course that you would like to see me explore, let me know in the comments below. Finally, thank you to all of my patrons as always, and I hope you have a nice day. Thanks for watching.